Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're digging into, well, let's call it the big goal for a lot of people in personal finance, hitting that seven-figure mark. If you're listening because you want the core ideas, the distilled wisdom on how to actually become a millionaire, maybe even if you're starting with a modest income, then yeah, you're definitely in the right place.
Because the source material we're looking at, it really lays out this surprisingly clear path. It argues this goal is, well, totally attainable.
Yeah, it's not about like winning the lottery or meeting some huge salary right out of the gate.
Exactly. It's about consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Steady work, consistent saving, really controlling your spending and avoiding that debt trap.
Okay.
So our mission today is to cut through all the noise out there and really focus on the framework from our sources, these 6 specific actionable steps.
Steps, okay.
And the main idea, the central theme, isn't just save more money. It's about harnessing really 2 fundamental forces.
Mm-hmm.
Time, the incredible power of time, and discipline, taking your own short-term impulses out of the picture.
Right, discipline and time. Okay, let's get into it. The first step, which the material calls your greatest financial asset. Start saving early. The engine behind this, the math that makes it all work, is compounding interest. Can you give us a quick refresher on that? How does compounding work its magic?
Sure. Compounding basically means your earnings start generating their own earnings. Simple as that. You reinvest any gains, dividends, interest. So your money makes money, and then that money starts making you more money. It accelerates.
Like a snowball effect.
Exactly. But it needs fuel, obviously, the savings, and critically, it needs time. Lots of time to really get going.
Okay.
And the sources have this really powerful example. Picture someone who's 20 years old. They start putting away $500 a month. That's $6,000 a year.
Okay, $500 a month at 20 seems doable for some.
Right. If they do that consistently for 40 years, the total amount they actually put in out of their own pocket is $240,000.
$240,000 over 40 years. Got it.
But here's the kicker. Assuming a, let's say, 7% average annual return, compounded monthly by the time they're in 57, that $240,000 investment, it could grow to over $1.32 million.
Whoa. Okay, hold on. $1.32 million from just $240,000 invested. That sounds almost too good to be true. What's the catch? Is that 7% return, like, guaranteed?
Good question. And no, absolutely not guaranteed. That 7% is based on long-term historical stock market averages. Markets go up, markets go down, there's risk.
Right.
The real catch, though, isn't necessarily the return fluctuation, it's time and consistency. You have to actually do it. Save that money month after month for 4 decades to hit that number by 57.
So the action step isn't just save, it's plan and automate.
Exactly. Make a plan, look at your income, your debts, your goals, and then automate it. Set up that direct deposit from your paycheck straight into your savings or investment account. So you don't even, see the money to be tempted to spend it.
Take the decision out of your hands each month?
Precisely. The framework forces that consistency.
Okay, so the math works if you feed the engine. But the biggest hurdle, as the sources point out, often isn't finding the money initially. It's keeping it, right? Resisting temptation. This gets us into the discipline side of things. Steps 2, 3, and 5. Let's start with step 2, cutting spending and avoiding debt. This seems obvious, but it's focused on those small, maybe unnecessary purchases, especially things bought with high-interest credit cards.
Yeah, this is where behavioral finance really comes into play. It's about fighting our impulses. The material suggests asking yourself some key questions before you make a non-essential purchase.
Like what?
Things like, is this something I really need? Or am I just buying this to impress someone else?
No.
But I think the most powerful one is, do I want this specific thing more than I want to become a millionaire?
Ooh, that's a good one. Puts it in perspective.
Right. It forces you to actually put a value on that long-term goal versus the short-term desire. You start seeing that, I don't know, daily fancy coffee or that extra streaming subscription, not just as $5, but as potentially hundreds, maybe thousands of lost future dollars because of compounding.
Yeah, it reframes the whole cost. And
Yeah.
the numbers presented really drive this home. If you manage to cut just an extra $25 a week, maybe pack lunch a few times, skip one takeout meal and invest it instead.
Just $25 a week.
Yeah, tiny amount. Over 40 years, assuming that same 7% return, that small change adds up to over $285,000.
Wow.
Just from redirecting $25 a week. That's huge.
It really shows the power of small, consistent changes, which leads perfectly into step 3, setting the savings target. How much should you actually aim for?
Right. What's the magic number?
Well, most financial planners, according to the sources, recommend saving at least 15% of your annual gross income specifically for retirement.
15%. Okay. How does that compare to what people are actually doing?
It's not great, unfortunately. The average American personal savings rate, I think the data mentioned was from April 2025.
Hmm.
It was hovering around 4.9%.
Ouch. Less than 5%. That's a big gap from 15.
It's a huge gap. And this is why things like employer 401k matches are so incredibly important.
Yeah.
If your company matches, say, 6% of your contributions,
That's free money.
it is. And it means you only need to save the remaining 9% yourself to hit that 15% total goal. Makes it much more achievable.
Okay, so use the match, get to 15%, which then brings us to step 5, avoiding lifestyle inflation. This feels like a big psychological trap.
Oh, it's huge. It's probably the biggest silent killer of long-term wealth building. Lifestyle inflation is basically you get a raise, you start making more money, and so you spend more money.
Right, the bigger paycheck means the fancier car, the bigger house, more expensive holidays.
Exactly. You feel like you deserve it or need to keep up appearances.
Mm.
But if your goal is that $1 million mark, the advice is clear. Resist that urge, or at least moderate it significantly.
So instead of upgrading your spending,
Upgrade your saving. Put that extra money from the raise straight into your investments. That's how you really accelerate things.
makes sense. But what if someone's listening and thinking, look, 15%, I can barely make ends meet now. Cutting $25 is tough, let alone 15% of my income.
Yeah, a very valid point. Life is expensive. And if cutting spending isn't enough to get you to that 15% target, then the sources say you have to look at the other side of the equation. Step 4, increasing your income.
Okay, so make more money. What are the options there?
The usual suspects, really. You could try asking for a raise at your current job, maybe work some extra hours if that's possible, getting a second job, a side hustle.
The gig economy stuff?
Right. Or, and this is often the one with the biggest long-term payoff, invest in yourself. Get additional training, certifications, or education to boost your earning potential permanently.
Ah, okay. So investing in skills, how much difference can that really make?
Potentially a massive difference. The sources gave a great example from the healthcare field. Comparing an LPN, a licensed practical nurse, their median income was cited around $62,340 a year.
Okay.
But an RN, a registered nurse, which often requires just maybe a 2-year associate's degree more, their median income jumps way up to around $93,600 a year.
Wow, that's over $31,000 more per year.
Exactly. That relatively short-term investment in education creates this huge ongoing increase in income. It dramatically shortens the time it might take to reach your financial goals.
Yeah, that really changes the calculation. Okay, so we've got saving early, discipline in spending, hitting the target, boosting income. What's the last step? Step 6.
Step 6 is consider getting help. Specifically, considering a financial advisor.
Right, because this stuff can feel overwhelming. Investing, taxes, retirement planning.
It absolutely can. And the stress is real. There was a survey mentioned, the 2025 Retirement Confidence Survey, I think. It found only about 24% of Americans felt very confident they'd have enough money to live comfortably in retirement, and even fewer, like 28%, felt very confident about preparing for it.
That's not a lot of confidence.
Yeah.
So an advisor can help bridge that gap. What do they actually do besides, pick some investments?
A good advisor does a lot more. Yes, they help with investment selection based on your risk tolerance and goals, but they also help create a holistic plan, budgeting, debt management, insurance needs.
With whole picture.
The whole picture. They provide structure, accountability, and crucially, they help you navigate the complexities after you reach your goal too, like how to withdraw the money tax efficiently in retirement so it lasts. They're there for the long haul, managing the distribution phase, not just the accumulation.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's talk about where this money actually goes. We've got the plan, the discipline. Where do the sources say are the best places to put these savings?
The foundation, almost universally recommended, are employer-sponsored retirement plans. Things like your 401k, or if you work for a nonprofit or school, maybe a 403b.
Why are they considered the best starting point?
2 main reasons: tax advantages and ease of use. The money comes directly out of your paycheck, that automation we talked about, and you get significant tax benefits.
Okay, taxes. This is where it gets a bit confusing with traditional versus Roth accounts. Can you break that down simply?
Sure. Think of it like this.
Yeah.
When do you want to pay the tax? With a traditional 401k or IRA, you contribute money before taxes are taken out, so it lowers your taxable income today. Your money grows tax deferred, meaning you don't pay taxes on the earnings each year. But you will pay income tax on the withdrawals when you take the money out in retirement.
Okay, tax break now, pay later.
Right. Now, a Roth 401k or Roth IRA is the opposite. You contribute money after you've already paid taxes on it, so no upfront tax break.
Hmm.
But the huge advantage is your money grows completely tax-free, and when you take qualified withdrawals in retirement, assuming you meet the rules, it's all tax-free.
Tax-free growth and withdrawals. Pay tax now, not later.
Exactly. Having both can give you tax flexibility in retirement, which is really valuable.
Got it. Now, there are contribution limits, how much you can put in each year. The numbers change slightly. I think for 2025, it was like $23,500 for 401k, $7,000 for an IRA, plus extra if you're over 50. But instead of getting lost in the exact dollar amounts, what's the core strategy here?
The core strategy is simple. Max out your tax-advantaged accounts first. Whatever they are, 401k, IRA, maybe a SEP or simple IRA if you're self-employed or have a small business. Fill those buckets before you start putting money into regular taxable brokerage accounts. Always prioritize the tax benefits.
Tax efficiency first. Makes sense. Okay, let's tie this all together with the case study example the sources use. This is sort of the proof of concept, right? Joe, the average earner.
Yeah, Joe, he's 33 years old, making $50,000 a year. So a solid income, but not, super high. He follows the plan. He puts $5,000 a year into his 401k, which includes his employer match it. He's taking that free money. And then he manages to save an additional $4,000 each year into a Roth IRA.
So $9,000 total saved and invested per year.
$9,000 total. He does this consistently until he's 67, assuming that historical 7% average return.
Let me guess. He hits the million.
He gets pretty close. The calculation showed him ending up with just under $1.3 million.
Wow. On a $50,000 salary, saving $9 a year, that really shows it's possible with discipline.
It absolutely is. It proves the power of consistency and time, even on a modest income.
And this really underscores that point about time. The sources included some data showing just how critical starting early is. Using that same $9,000 annual investment at 7%. If you start at age 25, what does the final number look like?
Starting at 25, you're potentially looking at around $2.3 million by retirement age.
$2.3 million. Okay, but what if you wait? Say start at age 40.
Big difference. If you start saving that same $9,000 a year at age 40, the total drops dramatically. You'd end up with something closer to $745,000.
Oof. Waiting 15 years costs over $1.5 million in potential growth.
It's brutal. Time is genuinely your single most valuable asset in this whole process. Waiting is incredibly costly.
And related to time, there was advice about investment risk, right, for younger savers.
Yes, because younger investors have decades before they need the money, they can afford to take on more investment risk. The sources generally advise focusing more heavily on equity stocks, which have higher growth potential over the long run, rather than playing it super safe with things like CDs or money market accounts that barely keep up with inflation.
So more time equals ability to ride out market volatility for potentially higher returns.
Exactly. You need that growth potential, especially early on, to really make compounding work for you.
Okay, so wrapping this all up, what's the big takeaway for someone listening right now? It really feels like this whole 6-step plan boils down to something that's, well, simple in concept, but maybe not easy in practice. It shows becoming a millionaire isn't really about luck or genius financial moves.
Not at all.
It's about making a series of small, consistent, almost boring decisions day after day, year after year. Starting early, saving regularly, controlling spending, avoiding debt, maybe boosting your income, getting some guidance, and just letting time and compounding do the heavy lifting. It takes patience.
Yeah.
Decades of it.
That's it, exactly. The financial blueprint is pretty straightforward, almost mathematical. But the behavioral side, actually sticking to it for 30, 40 years, that's the hard part.
Yeah.
So maybe the final thought to leave everyone with is this. We've seen the strategy works. It's tried and true. It can lead to financial security, but it requires decades of consistent, often small effort.
How does knowing it's a marathon measured in decades, not a sprint, how does that change the way you think about spending money today? That immediate gratification versus the long-term goal. And maybe more pointedly, what's the one specific financial habit based on all this that you could automate right now to take that difficult daily decision out of your own hands?